So, you have a Discord bot and you want to host it online so it's running 24/7. I'm going to show you how to do this, but I'll also show you how to automatically deploy the changes straight from your GitHub onto your server. This means you don't have to manually upload any files, you just commit straight to your main branch and it'll be deployed. The link in the description will give you $100 hosting credit. This tutorial will work for Python and Node.js based Discord bots. So let me show you what we're going to do. So in our YouTube tutorial Discord server, I have my bot online. On startup, there's a hello YouTube message, so I know the bot is ready to go. Okay, so we want to update this now. So you change your code, you merge it to the main branch, and it changes. The easiest example I can show you here is updating the startup message. So in our code, this is the section that handles the startup message. So let's change the startup message. Instead of hello YouTube, we can have hello YouTube, please like this video, as an example. And of course, we go to commit this and push this to the main branch. So in GitHub, in our Actions tab, we can see that the pipeline has been kicked off. We have two jobs running. One clones the entire repo to the server, and then the other restarts our bot. As you can see, the startup message is now changed, corresponding to our commit message earlier. So this is what we're going to do in this tutorial. So for this video, we're going to be using Vultr to host our Discord bot. I've linked this website in the description, so go ahead, make your account, and if you want to, use my link in the description to get $100 in free credit to get you started. So once you're ready to deploy your instance, we're going to come in here, click Cloud Compute, select the location that you want. I'm going to use London for this one. Select a operating system. For this tutorial, it'll be best to use any Linux-based operating system, so we're going to go for Ubuntu here. We're going to go for $6 a month. We're going to disable auto backups because we don't want to push this price too high, but feel free to, use this if you want. IPv6 will needs to be enabled as well, and we'll need an SSH key. SSH key pair, sorry. So if you know how to create an SSH key pair, go ahead and do that now. If not, I'll show you how to do this. So we're going to need an SSH key pair to allow our GitHub pipeline to authenticate to our server via SSH. We're going to put the private key on our GitHub repo and then the public key on our Vultr server. So to generate an SSH key pair, we just do this command here. Obviously, change the example in here to something of your liking. We're going to press enter. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. I already have an SSH key in this location, so I'm going to rename this to ID test, for example. We want to press yes a couple of times, no passphrase, and that will generate the SSH key pair. So in this location now, if I do ls, you can see I have ID test, which is my private key, and ID test.pub, which is obviously my public key. So we're now going to copy the public key. We can do cat ID test.pub. That'll print it out. We copy this. Back in Vultr, we add the new key here. We give it a name, and then we paste it in here. And you click add key. So we're going to do exactly the same for the private key. We're going to do cat ID test, and then enter. I'm not going to press enter because it's a private key, but you would press enter, you'd copy the contents of that, head to the GitHub repository that contains the code for your Discord bot. Under settings, we want to add a secret in actions, create a new secret, and name it SSH private key. The last thing to do is give our server a hostname. So we're going to go with YouTube tutorial, for example. This is now going to take some time to deploy. Usually it's about 5 to 10 minutes, so give that some time to run. While we wait, I'm going to show you a high-level overview of what we're going to be doing in this tutorial. So we have our GitHub repo, which has the code for our Discord bot. When we merge new code into the main branch, we kick off a pipeline that triggers a single job. This job is called update. So the update job is responsible for cloning the repo into the server and then restarting the server, i.e. your Discord bot. But before we do this, we need to set up our Linux environment to be able to run our Discord bot in the first place. So you need to download, discord.py or any other Discord libraries, and whatever libraries you need to get your Discord bot up and running. And then finally, we create our Discord bot token. So we clone that also into wherever we need it in our code via the GitHub secrets, just like we did for the SSH private key. So the deploy job will create the bot service and the restart service via systemd. The bot service is the main driver for your Discord code. So this is what's actually running your code in a daemon. And the restart service only responsibility is to restart the bot service whenever it's been triggered. So to summarize, the deploy bot job creates the bot service and the restart service, and the update bot clones the repo and then restarts your bot. So your server is up and running. Let's try and get into the server and make sure the SSH key is there, so our GitHub pipeline is able to trigger with no faults. So usually I just copy the IP address, go to my terminal, SSH root user, and then paste the IP address. It's going to ask for a password. Back in here, we'll copy the password. We'll paste it in here. And that should let us in. So now we are in our server. We want to make sure that the SSH key that we've deployed initially is actually there, so we can get on with the pipeline. So we do cd.ssh ls authorized keys. If we cat this file, our SSH key should be there. Do note that this is a different SSH key than the one I created earlier, but this is where your SSH public key should reside. And once it's there, you know that should all be working. So for this tutorial, we're going to store our super secret Discord bot token in GitHub secrets. So instead of, hard coding my bot token into the code, I put it in here as bot token. So add new repository secret, click that, name it bot token for this tutorial, and then paste it in here. If you don't know how to get it, you can come over to discord.com, developers application, find your bot in here, go to bot, and you can reset the token, copy it from here, paste it in here, and add the secret. So back in our code, we're going to enable the GitHub workflows by creating a GitHub directory, a .github directory, so create that in your root. Spell. And then in here, we want a workflows directory as well. So as mentioned at the start, the first thing we're going to create is the deploy bot job. So let's make a file called deploy new bot.yaml. So in here, we're going to give it a name. Deploy new bot. That'll do. We're going to have our on parameter in here and a workflow dispatch. This allows this workflow to be run manually. So it's not going to run every time we merge into the main, but we're going to run it manually at the start. So we're going to want an environment as well to have some environment variables. And for this, we're going to use just the repo name to use further down the line to keep things simple in terms of naming and consistent as well. So you use this by doing this. So this will grab the GitHub repository name. So this will set up our jobs. And the first job we're going to have is install requirements. So this will download discord.py. It will download Python if your environment doesn't have it. I have some other libraries that I need for my Discord bot, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to use this job to download that. So our first job is install requirements. This will download all the requirements for our Discord bot. It's running on Ubuntu, as that's how we set it up in our Vultr dashboard. You can give it a name, so this name will appear in GitHub UI. So I've just put installing requirements for the repo name as we go up here. It will use the SSH Action Master GitHub Marketplace library. And then here I'm downloading all the libraries that I need for my Discord bot. And here is the host, which is the IP address of my Vultr server, which you can get on here like this. So if you copy this IP address and then paste it in there, that'll be fine. And then the user is root, and the SSH key will be grabbed from the secrets in our GitHub repo that is called SSH private key. So our next job is deploy via SSTP. That's just what I've named it. And this will clone our entire repo into our server. So we're using a different SSH library from the GitHub marketplace, but it's very similar to the one above. So again, username root, the server is the IP of the server, port 22 as default, SSH private key, the same as above, and the local path, meaning this entire section here will be copied over. If you want to copy somewhere else, so obviously you just put the directory in here, so like home, games, something like that. But for now, I want to clone my entire GitHub repo into the server, but I do want to put it in a specific folder on my server. So I want this in /root, and I want to name it the repo name, and all the code will go in that section. And we have an argument here, and this will time out after 5 minutes of retrying. So this next step is specific to me and how I'm setting up my bot, but in case it's useful, I'm going to quickly run through this. So it'll need the previous job to run and be successful before this can run. Timing out after 2 minutes, and we're going to have an environment just for this bot, take in my bot token secret, which we've added beforehand. And then the main bulk of this is in here. I am changing directory into where I need it specifically, so this might be different for you. And I'm just creating the token, echoing that token into this file, and then this section here, make sure that the exit code is 0. If it's not 0, it will fail this, and then it will fail the entire pipeline. And again, as we've done before, our IP address, user root, and the SSH private key. Okay, so this is our first system CTL service job. It needs, as we've done before, it needs the add bot token and deploy by SFTP jobs. So those need to run successfully before we can go into this one. So again, we SSH onto a server, and then we create our systemctl service file. I put it in here so it's easier to look at and easier to digest. So essentially, they start with systemctl files start with unit, and then we have a description. Feel free to use whatever you want here, but I've just gone with the repo name Discord bot. So this will be YouTube tutorial Discord bot. And after multi-user target, I'm not an expert in systemd, so I can't give you the specifics on what this does, but it's a way to help systemd start up. It's not important to know for this tutorial, but it is required. So if you're curious, feel free to do some research on that. In our second section here, in the service section, we set it to type simple. This means that the service will become active straight away, so it kind of fires and then forgets about it. And what we're firing off is our code. So this is my script in my repo that kicks off my Discord bot. So in here we're referencing where I've installed Python. So just our Python environment. It'll be running the script, and that'll start my Discord bot. The user we want is root, as we've done. And if this script fails for whatever reason, it'll restart, but it'll only restart after 30 seconds. If it restart immediately, our bot might still be trying to connect, so we don't want to immediately restart. We'll give it some time to cool down and then we'll restart it. Again, it's wanted by this multi-user target. After that, we make sure to enable this service that we've just created, and we reload systemd. That's just something that's needed every time you edit a systemd file. You need to reload it, and then we start our service. As soon as this happens, your bot should be online if everything's gone well. But again, here we have our host with the IP address, our user, and our SSH private key. So our second job will create the systemctl restart service, and this restart service is only going to restart our main bot service. So we have very similar things as we had before. Again, it's going to require the previous service to run successfully before this can run. The only differences we have in here, let's go back in here. A description, slightly different. Multi-user target, that's the same. In the service section, we have one shot, which means this will just run once, it'll activate and then deactivate. And what we're restarting is our main service. So it'll be my YouTube bot service. So it's restarting this service, which we've created before. This bit is just looking into a systemctl environment. So it knows where to find the service, essentially. And then as before, we enable our watcher service. We reload our daemon, and then we start our watcher service. As we've done previously, we have our host, our user, and our SSH key. Okay, that's everything. I'm going to quickly review this file, make sure that everything is correct. Right, I'm missing a $sign here. Yeah, okay. Missing an indent here, so this should actually be indented by 1. So it's in line with the ID. Okay, looks like I've missed out a section here, which is called working directory. So this will make sure systemd knows where to find our script and start running it from. So that will be, let me just copy this, it's easier. Repo name and a / at the end. Made quite a few mistakes here, but it should be multi-user target instead of just multi-user. That's good. That's fine. Okay, I'm missing etc here as well. Okay, that should hopefully be it. We'll see when we run the pipeline. But yeah, I'm just going to commit this and push it to our main branch. So I'm going to commit file, create deploy bot workflow. And I'm going to push this straight to the main branch. Bad practice, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll just push it straight to the main branch. And then in GitHub, we've just seen this has been pushed. So we can go to our Actions tab, and we can kick off this run here. Now it's running. Let's open our Discord on the side here so you can see that The bot is offline currently, and it's running through each of these steps. The install requirement step isn't dependent on any of the other steps, so that can run in parallel as the deploy script. So we can take a look in here actually. So it successfully cloned our repo. Still add in the bot token. So it's deployed it, and now it's creating the service. I'll open side here so you can see that turn online. You can see it's now created the service and our bot is online. Hello YouTube, please like this video, was our initial message. That's now completed and up and running, but now it still needs to create the service that restarts our main bot service, which we'll use later on. Cool. When it creates the service, it starts it. Obviously, that initializes the bot, but because we're also creating the restart, it then restarts the bot again, and that's why we have two messages here. So now we have this set up, we can go and create the second workflow that will restart the bot whenever you merge into the main branch. It is worth noting that this deploy bot workflow should only be run once at the very start, and ideally not twice, because you get some weird behaviors in the systemd file. So let's move on to creating the restart bot workflow. All right, so back in our code, we're going to create a new file, calling it update bot.yaml. It's going to be very similar to what we've done before. So it's fairly obvious, this is pretty much exactly the same as before that we have in the deploy bot, apart from the only difference is that we trigger this workflow or job once we push onto the main branch. So if you have more than one branch, then feel free to, add the names of the branch in here. But now we only have one branch, and whenever we merge into that, we want to kick this off. I'm not going to go through all this again because this is exactly the same as before. The next step is just to restart the bot. So the restart bot job relies on the previous job, because obviously it needs new code to be in the server to work. And then essentially it's just doing this. So it's starting the watcher service. And as you remember, the watcher service is what we created here. And this watcher service restarts our main service. So we've kind of split it up into nice small chunks. Okay, again, we're going to commit this and push it, and then we'll test that it all works from end to end. Actually, we might as well just change it now. So in here, we can change the message. So once we merge this, it'll restart, and the message, the startup message should change. So let's just do hello. Actually, YouTube bot is ready to go. Let's do that instead. So we want to commit both of this. Hey, update bot and update message. Okay, let's try that. Push this. Actions, we can see immediately that it's merged and it's kicking off this restart. And let's wait and see. Awesome. So here we can see the bot is restarted and our YouTube bot is ready to go. Cool. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is debugging and looking up logs of your bot if anything does go wrong, because it's very likely that somewhere down the line your bot turns off or something happens and you want to find out what happened. The first thing we can do to look at logs is something called journalctl -u and then your service name, so that'll be whatever you've called it, .service, and then -e to go right to the end of the logs. So obviously nothing's gone wrong with my bot, but this is the logs that does happen in my bot. So I'm using cogs, so it sets up all the cogs, it connects, and yeah, and then here it's constantly committing to the database, so there's nothing wrong with this one, but this is where you would see the logs if there was an issue. We can have a look at the systemctl services that we created. I guess that'll be fun to look at, so let's do that. We can go cd etc system d. We'll be doing ls and see our YouTube bot service and our YouTube bot watcher service. So this watcher service restarts this service, and this service contains your Python or Node.js code that's running your Discord bot. So we could also do systemctl status of your YouTube bot service, and you can see that's active and it's running as of 9 minutes ago. If there's any issues, you can come run this command and you can see if it's running. If it's not running, it stops, and then you can, if you need to, you can restart. If you need to, that'll restart it, and then obviously in here, our bot is now restarted as well. You could also just do, start the YouTube watcher service, and that will do the same thing. So that's the end of the video. I really hope that you learned something and hopefully took something away. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you did enjoy it, please leave a comment in any way I can improve. If you have any questions, also leave a comment and I'll be sure to help you out. Don't forget there's a link in the description for the $100 Vultr free credit. Please make use of that. It'll give you some decent time to play around with it. I think it's worth trying. I've also linked to the description the YAML files that we created in here, so you don't need to type it up. You can just go in there, copy paste that in and change the IP address and some other things that you want. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.